Okay, so this is our final project for IH206, and we're in section 9 and we're team 4. Our team project is climate change of Tanzania. And this is our group member here, and we're gonna introduce ourselves individually. Okay, so I'm Fu Wang, and I'm gonna represent the political party in this project, and I'm gonna talk about the political view of Tanzania and what they're trying to do and their strategy about the whole climate change thing happening in Tanzania right now.
Hi there, I'm Team 4 member and my name is Hao Fu, and I will do some research and I'm going to represent about vulnerable party.
Hi, I'm Living, and I'm gonna represent the indigenous people in Tanzania, and I'm gonna discuss how the climate change influence the indigenous people.
Hi, I'm Fei Zhang. I will represent women in Tanzania. I will discuss how well to do for the climate change.
I'm Tong Dai and I'm an international negotiator. And after the discussion, I will do a summary and make some recommendations and strategies.
I represent the political party in Tanzania. Tanzania was a colony and part of German East Africa from 1880s to 1919, when under the League of Nations it became a British mandate. It served as military outpost during World War II, providing financial help and soldiers. In 1947, Tanganyika became a United Nations Trust territory under British administration, a status it kept until its independence in 1961. But domestic stability has not translated into economic prosperity for Tanzanians. Agriculture is the main part of Tanzania's economy. The main food crop in Tanzania are maize, rice, wheat, beans, potatoes, and bananas. Main cash crop including coffee, tea, cotton, and tobaccos. Farmers are free to decide what they want to produce, and it's a free market in Tanzania. The government is considering to end its role in deciding when and where farmers should sell their produce to enhance the productivity. An official in the Prime Minister office has said the product will sell in domestic and export to other countries. For example, the most export crop is the maize in Tanzania. Also, Tanzania is home of two renowned tourism destinations: Africa's highest mountain, Kilimanjaro, and wildlife-rich national parks such as Serengeti, but has become a target for poachers. That's a sad thing. As the representative of Tanzania, the main goal for me is to try to help people get through climate change. And the most important thing is the economy of the country. As long as the economy can keep good and control the emission, Tanzania people will still have a good life during the period. Climate change will lead to potentially high future economic impact. Future climate change could lead to large economic costs. While uncertain, aggregate models indicate that net economic costs could be equivalent of further 1 to 2% of GDP per year by 2030. There are potential threats from climate change to coast zone, health, energy supply and demand, agriculture, and ecosystem service, with potential high impact and economic costs across these sectors. The combined effect of current climate vulnerability and future climate change are large enough to prevent Tanzania achieving key economic growth, development, and poverty reduction targets. As I introduced before, since the climate change is going to have a horrible impact on Tanzania's economy. So in my opinion, there's two goals for our strategy. First of all is to control the emission of greenhouse gas. This is the main point to control the climate change. The second one is to keep Tanzania's economy growth. To reach these two goals, we need to find a balance between both of it. The reason I'm saying that is because if we focus on only one of them, then the other goals will not be reached. For example, if we only focus on controlled emission of greenhouse gas, then the economy of Tanzania will grow really slow, and this will hurt Tanzanian people a lot. If we can find a balance between these two goals, then it will be a great benefit not only for the Tanzanian people, but also for the world. Because people will not suffer by climate change. And also, the economy will keep growth and people will get a better life.
Hi there, this is Hafu, and I'm going to present. In last several years, Tanzania has suffered from a growing energy deficit due to serious drought. Despite facing a direct threat from climate change, Tanzania still plans to rely heavily on coal and natural gas for its future energy. Fossil fuel energy consumption in Tanzania was 14.36 as of 2013. It is the highest value over the past 42 years. And then I'm gonna talk about history, deforestation, and forest degradation. Tanzania forests are under pressure of deforestation and forest degradation. Change in forest change in Tanzania in 1990 to 2010, showing an average loss of more than 400,000 hectares per year. The main reasons of decreasing of forests would be human activities. For example, like building house, like making papers, it will consume a lot of trees. And what's more, trees are cut down to be used or sold as fuel, while cleaned land is used for livestock and plantations. Climate change presents an additional stress for Tanzania, who are already struggling with the challenges posed by environmental degradations and widespread poverty. Um, the 80% citizens living in rural area engage in livelihoods based on agriculture and livestock. Citizens living in urban areas suffered environmental and health issues due to pollution. And as a vulnerable party, I definitely encourage Tanzania not heavily relied on fossil fuel energy anymore. Because the emissions of fossil fuel is hazardous to our environmental and has a significant factor that cause global warming. In the end, also I encourage Tanzania to protect forests because the removal of trees without sufficient reforestation would result in damage to habitat and also biodiversity loss.
Hi, I'm Liming, and I'm gonna talk about the vulnerability of the climate change in the Tanzania first. Number one is about the water, and it's gonna affect the local residents, animals, and the hydropower stations, and it's gonna happen in Rufuji River, which houses Metro and Kitasu hydropower station is expected to experience an increase in river flow by 5 to 11% due to the low temperature fluctuation of the between 3.3 degree to 4.6 degree and hence increase in rainfalls. The number two is the forestry, and it's gonna affect the local resident and the local government. And the forestry is mainly about the deforestation, and the deforestation activities contribute a great share to the increase of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This means the daily temperature is raised by the 30 degree to 50 degrees throughout the country, and then the mean annual temperature by the 20 degrees to 40 degrees. And the number three is about the health. The climate change will bring some many different kind of diseases, and it will affect the local residents, which also the indigenous people. And one example is about the malaria is the largest cause of the loss of the lives in the country, accounting for about 16% of all report deaths. Number four is about the energy, and it's kind of the economic aspect. And because of the droughts, the highest water levels in the most of the hydropower stations have progressively been declining in recent years, and so this is a kind of effect of the electricity company and the local government, and also affect the economy. Number five is about the tourism. Um, if there's so many climate change happened in the Tanzania, nobody want to take a look of the uh, uh, take a look of the Tanzania, so it will affect the local tourism and economy, and it will also affect the indigenous people. Number six is about the wildlife, and is about the ecological, and it will affect the wildlife and the local residents. Um, the change in ecological system will lead to the disappearance of the some wild animal and species. It's always affect the indigenous people because they live here for many years.
There are two aspects of opportunities on climate change in Tanzania. On the one hand, the climate change benefits Tanzania farmers to grow more crops in order to provide more food for residents. On the other hand, Tanzania maize farmer and the trader get benefit from the hazard. Global maize production is lower than usual due to supply shocks in major exporting regions. Tanzania may be able to export more maize at higher prices, even if it also experiences below trade productivity. At the same time, the impact of climate change is felt in a number of areas. At first, the effects of climate change on women, decreasing the time available to women for food production and the preparation, as well as participation in income generating activities will affect household food security and nutritional well-being. Poverty and limited education are barriers. Childbearing increases women's vulnerability. Secondly, the effects of climate change on Tanzania urban poor. Reductions in annual mean rainfall in coming years could also lead to more droughts in parts of Tanzania, which would adversely affect food and water security and have profound indirect impacts. Thirdly, it will influence the indigenous people. Rising temperatures, increased wind speed, and loss of vegetation are negatively impact traditional cattle and goat farming practice of indigenous people in Tanzania, who must now living around government drawbars in order to access water and depend on government support for their survival. Finally, the effects of climate change on farmers. Agriculture practice in Tanzania mainly depends on the seasonal rainfall, which are dramatically decreasing seasons to seasons. Rainfall and temperature trend is present to justify the situation, and the climate change is in the one responsible for the shifting of the seasonal rainfall, making rainfall amount to come at the time not required, or the plants have already damaged. This page shows trade-offs of climate change in Tanzania. The government can take different measures to adjust climate change, but on the contrary, it will have negative impacts.
The UFCCC was signed by Tanzania on 12 June 1992 and ratified on 1 March 1996. Tanzania mainly focused on the greenhouse gases mitigation. This study was financed by the DTZ as part of the support by the government of the Federal Republic of Germany and the government of the United Republic of Tanzania to enable the latter to meet the obligation under the Framework Convention on Climate Change. Tanzania ratified the Kyoto Protocol on 26 August 2002 and retired into force on 16 February 2005. The first meeting of the Paris to the Kyoto Protocol. A number of side events discussed the progress of the clean development mechanism in Africa. About 20,000 smallholders located in 4 regions of Tanzania are adopting simple agroforestry techniques. Tanzania established the 5-year National Development Plan, and here is the National Climate Change Strategies. Tanzania submitted its new Climate Action Plan to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Here is 7 key tasks to implement the Paris Agreement. Tanzania Vice President has challenged Africa to shift from the tendency of relying on developed countries, charging that the problem of African negotiators in the UN climate negotiations leading up the Paris Climate Change Conference this December is lack of real political backing from visionary leaders in the continent. Here is a reason why Tanzania was engaged in policies in that way. According to the previous discussions, as a negotiator, I make some summaries and I want to establish some recommendations and strategies to build the capacity of Tanzania to adapt to climate change impacts, to enhance reliance of the ecosystems to the challenges posed by the climate change, to enable accessibility and the utilization of the available climate change opportunity through the implementation, participation in climate change mitigation activities that lead to sustainable development, public awareness on climate change, information management on climate change, to put in place a better institutional agreement to adequately address to climate change, to mobilize resources including finance adequately address climate change. Tanzania's Vision 2025. Some of strategy to attaining these objectives are here's 7 objectives. A less inaccurate formula for arriving at the cost of implementing the action plan of this strategy is to estimate the cost of climate change interventions outlined here for each sector, together with ongoing programs. This will involve the following objectives. Tanzania is highly vulnerable to climate change and climate variability. For several years, the not systematically documented, the country has embarked on a range of objects and programs that either seek to mitigate or adapt to climate change and variability. Climate change benefits Tanzania farmers to grow more crops in order to provide more food for Tanzanian residents. If Tanzania has got the chance, then it can become one of the biggest economy in Africa. If we build in adaptive capacity and enhance reliance against future climate change, some negative responses may include changes in mitigation patterns of animals, changes in seasonal periodicity, disruption to food chains, and species loss. To build the capacity of Tanzania to adapt to climate change impacts can help farmers, women, and indigenous people get through the damage caused by climate change. When people are ready for it, then the economy will not harmed by it. In other words, it means people can at least live the life that they are living right now. To enhance public awareness on climate change can also help this group of people to get ready for climate change and help them keep the economy grow during the hard time. And next few slides are the citations of our final project.